So I'm going to pull this back tyre off and have a look at the homemade cush core or flat tyre defender, rim protection and flat tyre protection that I created. So it's just some K-Flex foam basically stuck together and put into the inside the tyre. So far so good. Haven't had any flats. I've got a nice cut on the other side of the tyre here that didn't flat or didn't cut through. No leakage, no problems. Haven't really felt a huge benefit in the increased damping that people talk about with the cush core. So the cush core wraps tightly around the rim, and I think that's what creates the damping. It's because this kind of sits freely in here, it floats a little bit, it actually rattles around a bit, which we'll have a look at in a minute. But the cush core sits nice and tight on your rim, and I think that plays a big role in creating that damping and creating that nice cushion feel. So we'll pull it apart and have a good look. In terms of it creating a gyroscopic interference with the way it's spinning, no problems. So it spins freely, it doesn't feel like I get any resistance when I'm riding. Doesn't feel super heavy. I added 160 grams to the rear tyre, so there's a little bit of extra weight there, but as you can see, it's not creating a dead spot in the spin. I had an issue with when I had a big chunk of sealant inside my tyre. That was really slowing that rolling down. It was like woo, 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 and it was really slowing it down. It felt terrible. This isn't doing it. I guess because the weight's spread evenly around it, it's not an issue. So let's pull it off and have a look. So one thing I've definitely noticed is that rattle. I don't feel it on the road or on the trails or whatnot, but it's definitely there. Once the tyre's spinning, it's not an issue. But what happens is if I'm pumping the tyre up like this, the K-Flex leans in or sits down onto the opening of the valve. So when you're pumping air up, it's super resistant. So what I've got to do is keep it down at the bottom. So let's have a look. Air comes in and out, no worries, from the bottom. But when we're at the top, that's alright for now. But yeah, there you go. So now it's completely trapped. So that's one issue there. Now the way to solve that would be to put a slit. So if you've got the valve coming up in through there, so that's the valve, put a slit through the valve so the air can actually get to either side, out of either side of that valve opening, as well as through the top of the hole. So it just gives it more space to dissipate into the tyre. So that'd be the fix for that. Otherwise, that shake's not a functional issue really to me. So that's all the air out. I've removed the valve core. And you can see at the bottom there, and I can feel there, that when I compress it, there's no way I can get my finger to touch that rim. Even if I'm pushing across a little bit, it takes up too much room to expose that rim to any sort of hits. So that feels, as it's completely flat, that feels like there's a lot of protection there. So hitting it into the ground, completely flat, with an exo tyre, so no real protection there. That is giving a lot of protection for that rim. Definitely satisfied with the amount of protection that's there. So I've ridden with this for probably a good month at least. I can't remember exactly when I put it on, but I've slammed this wheel and this tyre. So it's been the same combo, this wheel and tyre. I've slammed it into so much stuff. No flats, no tears. So if we look at the tear on the outside of this wall, let's see if I can find it. it is. But anyway, there was a decent tear in this, and it looked like all of the skin on the outside's been torn off. But being that there's protection on the inside, it was like instead of being a rock, the tyre between a rock and a hard place, the tyre was between a rock and a soft place. So there was no abrasion on the inside to create the cut, to create the full cut from both sides. Oh, I wish I could find this tear. Oh, there it is. Sorry. So let's get a little closer. Have a look at this. As we just zoom into it. Right here, it's quite a big tear, but obviously nothing on the inside, so nothing to cut it on the inside because of that protection. So it survived, which is impressive. So quite simple to get the tyre off. Pull the insert out. And we've got a couple of little dingers here, so the sealant has turned into a little bit of a ball there. The tyre's wet, but there's no actual sealant left in there. My little end plugs have popped out, which is kind of semi-expected. I kind of expected that, so I probably won't do the end plugs again. I'll put it back in, and I'm just going to put this bead back on and hit it against the ground so you can see the difference in that protection. That. So if I was to hit it as hard as I was hitting it with that, definitely going to be damaging that rim. So they're just nowhere near the same amount of protection. So in terms of sealant, this kind of looks like it's absorbed a lot of the sealant, or not absorbed it, but it's kind of covered in sealant. Definitely hasn't absorbed it as such. Like if I squeeze, there's a little bit in there. Yeah, it has absorbed it a little bit. As I squeeze it, you see some bubbles. Doesn't feel heavy. Doesn't feel like it's saturated in sealant. And looking at the damage, let's have a look at this. So we've got cut there, nice decent cut there, a cut there, decent one again. So definitely doing its job. They would have been tyre cuts, surely. This, look at them, both of those cuts are cut all the way through, double-sided, look at that. Double-sided, this one here, double-sided, again, big cut. They potentially 3 flat tyres. Keep going through. Another big cut, look at that. Straight through, doubled up. Again. And that's it. So, another one. Bang. Have a look at that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 big impacts that all potentially flat tyres. They're all clean cut, so I guess the MTB Telly 10-buck chuck is definitely worth the 10 to 20 bucks that it cost to put in, even though it did soak up a little bit of sealant, and like I said, it's not heavy at all. This is still, it doesn't feel like it's got any sealant in it. It's more or less just sitting on the surface of it. But that sealant did have a reaction and create that little ball, so might not be ideal for the compatibility with sealant, but for all-out protection, that definitely makes me feel like I'm on the right track here. So I'm going to get cush cores as well in the future and put them in and see how they fare, because I think that's a good idea too. But you know, 5 or 6 flats prevented, that's money's worth for sure, in my opinion.